Headlines will tell you that inflation is moderating in line with economists' forecasts, but even with experts' confidence that inflation is heading in the right direction, prices for everyday goods and services like food and housing remain a pain point for average Americans out there. Here with a closer look at inflation, let's bring in Jeffrey Campbell, University of Notre Dame professor and former senior economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. Great to have you here with us. First and foremost, as you think about where inflation is trending towards, are we seeing inflation moderate enough in order for consumers to be able to offset some of the persistent pressures?
Not really, unless the war ends in Ukraine and Russia. The big problem with, and that is the big uncertainty with inflation going on right now, is if that war ends, energy prices are going to come down. That's going to have a big impact on all consumers' spending and pocketbooks. In that case, we're going to have a very nice 2025. If the war doesn't end so soon, I see inflation hovering at around 3%. And those prices of everyday items that people are feeling the pinch on are going to stay high.
What is the direct correlation there? Is it purely energy, or is there something else within the mix?
Well, I think it's mostly a pure energy play. That the energy is a big share of people's budgets, especially lower income people. That is a big spillover into retail as a whole, because of shopping behavior. When people feel a pinch in energy, they go into these trying to find these value propositions at Walmart and TJ Maxx and so on. So they're going to be, if the energy prices pull back, we might see more of a loosening of consumers' wallets for more premium goods and a willingness to take a bit of a higher markup in exchange for more convenience. So that's the only real non-direct effect I see.
And so with that in mind, and the correlation that you're drawing in and pointing to here that certainly has been present, what happens when we have, like this morning or like overnight, a ratcheting higher of some of those tensions, and what is the lag effect from the point where some of those tensions ease, or perhaps we do see a cease to, of course, the activity that's played out for the better part of 2 years now? What is the lag effect for that actually lowering and bringing down some of the inflationary pressure?
So putting aside the predictions of geopolitics, I'm no expert on that, but I see most of the potential here is on the upside for the American consumer. If we have a temporary ratcheting up like we did this morning, it might be temporary, I hope. That's going to play out in financial markets, people making bets on the future about how soon things are going to get better. But it's not going to filter down to either the retailer or the consumer just yet. The only time that's going to happen is when there's real action on the ground, and either we have a ceasefire or a peace treaty, or it's clear that that's not happening in the next year.
So what then is the Fed's pathway, and how much does that put the Fed's pathway for continuing to cut rates in jeopardy?
Well, I think what it does is it gives an opportunity to the Fed for what they call opportunistic disinflation. So inflation has been running in the high 2% lately, and Chair Powell has talked about it on a smooth pathway to being at its target, the Fed's target of 2%. The Fed is not promising very much monetary restriction to bring that down, though. They're basically hoping for the best. It's said that it's better to be lucky than good, and they're definitely hoping to be lucky. So I believe that if the peace comes out, the Fed's going to have its job mostly done for it. If it doesn't, then they're going to have to take a hard look in the mirror and see whether they can engineer this soft landing that they hope for so hard.
Jeffrey Campbell, University of Notre Dame professor, thank you so much for taking the time here with us today. Really appreciate the insights.
Thank you.